Enclosure Acts. These were acts by Parliament to enclose common land and open fields. These forced many farmers to be evicted. And their eviction allowed for the wealthier farmers to redistribute the land in their own favor.
The Jethro Tull machine. It allowed farmers to plant rows of seeds at the same time. Prior to this, farmers had to plant the seeds by hand. This limited the waste of seeds and increased the yield. This was the capitalistic answer for the time. The owner created this machine and sold it to farmers for financial gain.
There are many benefits to crop rotation. The benefits are, it replenishes the nutrient level in the soil, thus increasing the yield. It reduces pest buildup, which thus prevents diseases.
In this case with crop rotation, carrots would grow year 1 or some other crop, year 2 would be a different crop. Year 3 mostly would be a different crop, but occasionally could have been the same crop, then by year 4 it'd be a different crop. As you can see, the nutrition levels are rising within the soil.
Why Great Britain? First industrialized nation, building factories, canals, and other mechanisms that helped the Industrial Revolution, as well as the Agricultural Revolution.
The time for coal and iron. Coal, during this time, powered the steam engine, which was used to power trains. And iron was important, especially to the trains, because it was used for creation of pipes or rails for railroads. And without iron, you can't make the railroads, and where will the trains ride?
The handloom weaver and the
Wool and the UK's 1721 law. This law banned printed cotton to protect the wool industry. It also prohibited the sale of cotton while promoting the sale of wool. The historical lesson to be learned was that the government will undermine an industry, especially if the former product is more beneficial.
The handloom weaver came out, and new textile industries emerged. These new industries provided faster production with less error.
Start railroads. Railroads and the steam engine. Railroads exposed all sectors of a society. They allowed for shipping of raw materials, workers, and it was a much faster way to travel than before.
The railways altered time and distance, replaced the use of animals for people to travel, and plus allowed passengers to travel the same distances in faster time.
Railroads can relate to the internet, transforming the world. Both were created to send messages faster over shorter periods of time and over long distances.
The steam engine as a game changer. Inventors used this for financial gain. Moved from the mines indoors to the factories. Traveled goods over long distances. It was faster and more efficient than animals.
They strived to find work in the cities and towns, plus live in places they didn't own.
The Great Stink and its causes. The Great Stink was caused by increasing population using the River Thames as a disposal for their waste. In 1858, the sun started to ferment the waste, causing a horrible stench to cover Westminster.
What prompted the changes to clean up the Thames? The effects from the Great Stink on the citizens of Westminster prompted Parliament to act.
Sewage disposal was an environmental improvement. It decreased the effects of illness that was caused by waste being dumped into the people's drinking water.
Historical lesson to be learned. People should not wait to fix a problem until it is too late. People should address the problem and fix it before the problem becomes too severe.
Life during the Industrial Revolution. Working conditions in the factories. There were 14-hour days, cruel discipline, and fines, low wages. Many died from pneumonia, and factory accidents caused many workers to be injured or killed.
Working conditions in mines. Seams were 18 inches high. Accidents often occurred, causing many injuries and deaths. You had to collect what the owner said, or you owed the company what you didn't collect, and were fired if you joined a union.
Conditions of the cities that made life unpleasant were poor housing conditions, cities were polluted by coal smoke, high rents and low wages, human waste covered the streets, and lack of fresh water resulted in people contracting diseases such as typhus and cholera. Reforms of the Industrial Revolution. Strike. A group of employees that stop working and protest until they receive a form of work benefit. Many workers during the Industrial Revolution went on strike for the unfair treatment by their employees. Trade unions. Group of workers in a profession formed to protect workers' rights. Viewed as bad during the Industrial Revolution. Collective bargaining. Bargaining conditions and wages of unemployment to a group of workers. Those who worked during the Industrial Revolution used this as a form of unionizing.
Why work?
Robert Owen and New Lanark. Robert Owen created a well-oiled socialist government just from 4 mills. Surprisingly, his community was a very loving socialist community that grew economically despite many expenses that piled up.
Chronology of child education reforms. In 1833, Parliament passed the Factory Act of 1833 to limit child labor by setting work hour limits. Then passed the Education Law, the 1880 Education Act, which made local school mandatory for children up to 10. The 1918 Education Act, which raised the age of 14. Then in 1944, they raised it to 18. The government also started funding the education system. Other acts during this time were the Health and Morals of Apprentices Act, the Factory Acts.